Human beings are resilient creatures by nature, and history proves this time and time again with examples from not only notable pop culture celebrities, but also in recent times as shown through the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, when we transition today over to analyzing and understanding the quote by Frida Kahlo, famous painter and pop culture media influencer, we can see that her quote, "At the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can," rings true. So to understand and analyze this quote today, we're going to be looking in two key areas of analysis. Number one, by starting with an in-depth understanding and a baseline analysis over the life of the painter herself and how her experiences within her own life and culture not only shaped how we can think and understand this quote, and number two, going on to a more in-depth understanding of how this quote relays back to our own lives, not only in recent times within history, but also as human beings and how we learn to overcome and adapt. So to start with, Frida Kahlo, she was a notable influencer and painter back in Mexico, but the lifestyle that she lived was often more dark or in some cases more nefarious than we might think it is. So at the time of her creating this quote, she had been cheated on by her late husband, and rather than sulking about, although she was a woman who was known for being strong, courageous, and influential, she decided that she wasn't going to just let infidelity stand in her way. And so she took that cheating as a sign to her that she had to do something different in her own life to overcome, and adapt. Therefore, what did she do? She went with the same woman that her husband slept with and slept with her too. Now, although this is not necessarily a tale of what we should do whenever we are hurt by others is to go and hurt them back, but rather we see that human beings are adaptive. We learn to overcome and use our resources to our benefit so that we're not stuck in the exact same cycle of exacerbation to be hurt time and time again, which proves that we endure much more than we think we can because we have the ability to overcome and adapt as human beings. Which brings us to our next point of analysis, which is how in society we've seen this time and time again to be true, that human beings are resilient and we can overcome more than we think we can to build a bigger, stronger society in the end. Now, again, let's go back into a little bit of psychology and understanding why this is. Well, again, the psychologist, as we know him today, Carl Jung, believed that human beings adapt and overcome for the sake of a more resilient future. Therefore, if we are only to be stuck within our trials and tribulations and not learn from them, we benefit nothing for the future. Therefore, when we see ourselves getting hurt or enduring much more pain than we feel we should be, it's only for the greater expression of our personality development. Carl Jung was a personality psychologist, and he believed that with every single problem, trial, tribulation, or grievance that we encounter, we are supposed to grow from it to be bigger, stronger individuals and better people, therefore making a more resilient society and leaving us with more resilient family structures to tackle those same problems in the future. Overcoming is just the beginning of understanding who we are as complex beings and be able to, again, re-implement our same ideals and logic to solve bigger problems down the line to make us healthier and stronger, which also goes into the idea and beliefs of the evolutionary practice of survival of the fittest, in which if you are able to adapt and overcome, you will leave a better, stronger legacy for yourself and for your family. So in a societal impact, I guess you could say, we can look at the COVID-19 pandemic and understand that this very quote by Frida Kahlo, "At the end of the day, we can endure much more pain than we think we can," rings tried and true, especially for all of us who were stuck quarantining during the midst of 2020. As we saw, Psychology Today tells us that COVID-19 caused a spike in mental health problems as well as suicide rates. However, that didn't stop people from adapting and overcoming to their situations. Online dating and friendship-making accounts rose over 200% in America alone, which proves that people innately find problems and we change our situations to overcome these issues. We saw that by 2021, a whole year after the pandemic began, the suicide rates were declining and so were the mental health disparities. And within my own college of UNT, we see that psychology is now the #1 most taken major within our institute, proving that people have an innate need to take the history that they've learned in the past and improvise their own lives to make it better for everyone living in the future. So Within this speech today, we've understood that using the quote by Frida Kahlo, at the end of the day, we can endure much more pain than we think we can. This rings tried and true for all of us by number one, understanding an in-depth analysis with Frida Kahlo's life to see why this quote was so relevant for her, and number two, understanding how in a greater societal aspect, we can utilize this quote to see how we overadapt and overcome our own challenges to make ourselves more resilient and build a brighter future. Because at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. Thank you.